Hey, it's Julie Kaylin, your favorite happiness coach, voiceover artist, songstress, singer-songwriter, and actress. And one thing that brings me tons of happiness this time of year is baking a Derby pie. And so in honor of Kentucky Derby Day, I am going to tell you guys all about how I make my fantastically delicious Derby pie so you guys can make it too, and I really think you are going to enjoy this. I lived in Kentucky for a few years, and that's how I was first exposed and discovered a Derby pie. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, in a nutshell, it is basically a chocolate pecan bourbon pie, and it's amazing. So I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm also going to list the directions for the recipe and the ingredients down in the description box below, but I will talk for a few minutes about secret tips for how to make it. And it's really, I love this because when I bake, I want everything to be quick and no nonsense and easy and have very few ingredients. And this recipe has all of that. So there are very few ingredients, and it takes about 10 minutes to prep. And then you stick it in the oven for 45 minutes and you are done with a delicious Derby pie. So the ingredients that you are going to need to make this pie is a half a cup of butter, melted butter. So you could just melt it on the stove or in your microwave, whichever you prefer. But a half a cup melted butter. You're going to need 1 cup of sugar. You're also going to need a half a cup of flour. Then I also use 2 eggs beaten, just, hand whipped with a fork is fine. And sometimes I'll occasionally, depending if they're really small eggs, sometimes I'll use 3 eggs. You just kind of have to judge by experience or the texture of how it seems. You're going to use actually I use 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So this vanilla extract here, I use 2 teaspoons of that pure vanilla extract. Those, let's see what else. You're going to use a 1 cup of chocolate chips. And it's up to you what kind of chocolate chips you want. Like, my family is huge on dark chocolate, and in past years we used like bittersweet chocolate, which is like 60% cocoa. This year I'm super excited because we got a bag. We love dark chocolate. The darker the better. So we found one that's 85% cocoa, so we're super excited about that. If you're really a dark chocolate fan, I even saw like 100% cocoa, but wow, if you've never had straight chocolate, beware, that's really bitter. So yeah, and also you could use, if you like milk chocolate, you could use milk chocolate. I have made it other years with butterscotch instead of chocolate chips, which is amazing if you want a twist on this. Butterscotch chips are good. I've seen in the store peanut butter chips. This would taste amazing with peanut butter chips as well. And what else? Even white chocolate, I'm sure would be amazing in that. So depending on your mood and your flavor, you could mix up this recipe any way that you want it. So there's lots of possibilities too, besides just using chocolate chips. But like I said, this year, I am excited to try the 85% dark chocolate in my recipe. What else? So 1 cup, you're going to want pecans or walnuts. And I typically make it with pecans. But if you like walnuts better than pecans, you could do that as well. But and for the type of pecans, I usually get chopped pecans rather than the whole halves are kind of too big for me, for my preference. And the finer ones are a little too fine for me. So I think chopped pecans is a good happy medium for when I bake this that I prefer. But again, if you like bigger or smaller pecans, it's up to you to try and experiment with that. But I would definitely recommend the chopped pecans when you are starting out with this. And last but not least, don't forget your bourbon. Bourbon is delicious in all sorts of pies in Kentucky and down south. It tastes wonderful, and it goes great with chocolate. So get this baby bottle of bourbon, And this is a 50 milliliter bottle. And if you've never gotten these little bottles of alcohol before, you'd have to get them behind a counter at a liquor store. You don't just go up to the clerk and ask, because they usually have these little bottles like locked up or behind the counter. Because I guess some people could easily steal these and put them in their purse. So they guard these pretty heavily. And actually, too, at some grocery stores, you could get the little bottles of bourbon as well. I got this at my grocery store, and I had to go to the customer service center, and they had it behind there in the customer service. But again, they keep a close eye on these because they don't want them stolen. So yeah, just if you can't find it at the store, just ask someone for it. And most of the rest of those ingredients you could find in that I mentioned, you could find in the baking aisle. And so then you are going to mix your 1/2 cup melted butter, your 1 cup sugar, your 1/2 cup of flour, your 2 to 3 eggs beaten, your 2 teaspoons of vanilla, your 1 cup chocolate chips or whatever type of chips you want, your 1 cup pecans or walnuts, whichever you prefer, and you put this whole bottle in there in the pie, the whole 50 milliliter little bottle in the pie, and you're going to mix all that up in a bowl with just like a fork and spoon. Don't have to blend anything with like a mixer or anything. Just hand mix it, hand stir it, and you'll be good. And then you're going to put all of that into a 9 inches unbaked pie shell. And I typically like to get the deep dish, and it's in the frozen section. The deep dish pie shell I always think works best, but if you can't find that, just use a regular one, no problem. And once you've done all that, put everything in the pie shell. All you do is stick it in the oven, which will be at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes or until it's brown on top. And then you have a wonderful derby pie that is amazing and delicious. And I could eat it all year round, but it's a really fun thing to do, especially on Kentucky Derby Day or Kentucky Derby weekend. That's what I traditionally do. So yeah, I would encourage you guys, if you love chocolate, nuts, and bourbon, to give it a try, and also write in the description box below what you think of it if you get a chance to make it. That would be awesome. So yeah, if you have any questions, like I said, I'll write all this in the description box below as well. But if you have any questions, feel free to comment in the description box. Or if you try it and you love it or have any suggestions, or I'd love to hear all about them and your experience with this pie. So I hope it brings you as much happiness as it brings me. All right, so hope you have a wonderful weekend, wonderful Derby Day. And yeah, I will talk with you soon. And if you want more videos like this from me, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and contact me if you'd love happiness coaching, voiceovers, singing, anything else that I offer. All right, have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. All right, bye.